Hello, everybody, and welcome back again. We are kind of coming back again and looking back at week 6 of the program this week. I'm Jen. I'm one of the NDPP coaches, and I'm here with Jen and Ashley again, and just kind of revisiting, helping to keep the motivation going during this time. Last week, we talked a little bit about tracking food and some different tips, tricks, mechanisms, ways that people do it, what works, what doesn't. And we talked about how that can help us understand our eating habits and our patterns so that we can perhaps tweak and make changes to make progress towards our goals. So this week, we are going to be talking about getting more active. I know previously, I think it was a couple weeks ago, we talked about getting active to begin with. And for some people, that's just a continuation of what they've already been doing. For other people, getting up to that 150 minutes of moderate exercise each week is something that they were working towards. So again, with our getting active too, we're looking at that moderate exercise. We're looking at things that are starting to get our heart rate up a little bit. We can use the talk test to evaluate that. So we should be able to talk, but not necessarily sing when we're being active, to make sure that we're getting some good cardio workout going on during that time. So if we are already at our 150 minute per week goal, like some of you may already be because we are into this program already, why would we talk about getting more active? So I'm going to toss it out to Jen and Ashley and see if they have thoughts on why would we talk about, getting more active or what that might mean in this context. Thoughts?
Sorry, I was super distracted. I had to go on mute for a minute because my birds were going crazy. If it sounds like a bird sanctuary here, guys, so please forgive me about that. Just want to make sure they're okay. I had to yell for Justin to double check on the 6 children that we have in our room right now. So some thoughts on getting more active. Yes, it's definitely a struggle. Just a couple things I guess I think of. I've been walking, but could I add, like some ankle weights or some like hand weights? I'd probably look really ridiculous like walking down the street maybe, but staying motivated that way. I do have a set of ankle weights and I do actually really like them. I used to use them for Pilates, which was nice. So I think of that. I have seen people using hand weights on the track when we were at the Y. And they have ones that slide right on your hands, which is kind of nice. And just maybe even adding, I know we've talked in a couple of our other wellness talks too, like some of the different trends was working out for smaller periods of time but more often throughout your day. So making it a little more manageable. So maybe adding another one of those 15-minute like little walks around the block, or maybe it's like a couple extra flights of your stairs, kind of just challenging yourself with one more like step up on that, ways to get more active.
Mm-hmm. Ashley, how about you? Like, what are some things, like if somebody's already being active at the 150 minutes too, like why would we want to look at getting more active or, adding some of those things?
I think you always want to be challenging yourself. Like if you've been on this journey for, I mean, not remember when we talked about that, maybe 4 weeks ago already, and you're kind of getting a little bit bored, or maybe your body's adapted now and it's getting easier. And so thinking about, what are maybe some things that we can do to challenge ourselves a little bit more, whether that's mentally needing more of a challenge, making things maybe a little bit more complicated or different, so you don't get bored. And also maybe from a physical standpoint too, how can you make it, a little bit more difficult? Are you going from a walk to a power walk, to a jog, to a run? I know for me, I usually walk pretty much the same path most days. And instead this last weekend, we did more like on the hiking path because we live right by the Superior hiking trail. And let me tell you, I don't know if it's because my lungs are getting like cramped in here, but like going up the like hiking inclines was so much harder for me than just like walking up a hill that's, like a paved road. Mm-hmm. So even for me, I noticed like, wow, that's like more challenging for me, like cardiovascular wise, than just going on my normal walk.
Yeah. And I think you hit on something that's really important during this time, is that we can get really comfortable in our routines and in the amount, and we can say, okay, I'm at the 150 minutes and then I'm good, which is great. That's a great place to be. And that's nothing to scoff at, but at the same time, finding ways to challenge ourselves, because sometimes our body does become accustomed to what it is and it gets used to, and we need to kind of challenge it or confuse it a little bit to get it reactivated again. I know that for myself, I found, years ago, I was just doing the same thing. I'm like, why am I not making any progress? Well, I wasn't like challenging myself. I was doing the same thing every day or every week, and not doing anything a little bit different. And once I decided to switch things up, A, it was more exciting, and B, it was better for my body, and I was getting more benefits from that. Plus, more time, if we have it available on our schedule, is not a bad thing. It's not like the 150 minutes per week is the max that you can do. If somebody has the ability to do 200 minutes or more, that's great. That's, it's not a bad thing to be going beyond that. So I know that you each kind of talked a little bit about this, but I want to dive into some of those different ways that we can get more active or increase, maybe change up what we're already doing. So let's start with walking. I know walking, Jen, you kind of talked about some of the hand weight stuff. Is there other things that you can think of that we could potentially share with people that would be beneficial for adding to the walking?
I think if you time yourself too, if you always go for a 20-minute walk or, a 30-minute walk, whatever your time frame is, trying to complete the same distance and maybe a little less time. So maybe your pace is getting a little bit faster, or maybe you increase your distance, but you keep your same amount of, your pace. If you have an hour and a half able to walk, maybe you walk a little bit longer that day. Maybe it's only a block, or once you get back home, if you feel still motivated, go around and walk a couple times. So I'd say pace or distance would be probably my go-to. Mm-hmm. Like what Ashley said, taking it off road, finding trails that you can go on where you're maneuvering a little bit differently. And I think that would help as well.
Mm-hmm. I can always find hills over here too. Just add in more hills. Wherever I go, I have to go on a hill. No other option.
Well, and that does, and it doesn't even have to be necessarily a steep hill. It can just be a little bit of an incline, here and there where you're adding something in. And that could be outside or even on a treadmill or, piece of equipment that way. I like your thought about the trying to beat your time, I guess, Jen. That's something that I do mentally for myself when I run, is I'll be like, okay, I have this and I want to try to cut a couple seconds off. I'm not saying I'm going to cut a whole minute or anything off like that, but it keeps me motivated throughout the time that I'm doing a run. So how about some other things with like strength and resistance? How might we add in some of those types of things to our already, to our activity in easy, simple ways without having to have a whole bunch of equipment? Because I know sometimes people, especially right now, they might not have that equipment at home if they're used to having it at the gym. But that can be a really great way to change up our routine. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I think getting creative with just heavier objects that you have around your house too. I know we've definitely had to do that with some of our videos, because I do realize that not a lot of people have, free weights or want to invest in that, or even the space to store that kind of stuff. So my cat litter tubs are 25 pounds and they have a handle similar to a kettlebell. So if you really want to get super creative with those, laundry detergent, stuff like that too. I even think of just getting creative with your stairs and using those objects just to carry up and down. If you've normally been walking up and down your stairs because you're homebound right now, maybe think of something to carry up the stairs with you during those workouts to kind of help with a little more resistance and strength too. And I think if you're already doing body weight exercises at home, such as lunges or squats, things like that, adding something to hold that again is heavier than what you're used to, adding it into those exercises would be a great way to little by little add some of that strength in the best that you can with not as much space or not as much equipment as you normally would have at the gym.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, if you use, things like cat litter or detergent, make sure the cap is on.
Okay. The next video is going to be me cleaning up the cat litter from doing and it just busting open everywhere.
Yep. Ashley, do you have any thoughts?
One thing that it kind of made me think of, just like going along with like the walking and that kind of thing too, is I have like one trainer that I really like that I follow on Instagram, and she does a lot of like walking, running, but what she does is like she'll take like every stop sign is I do 10 squats, or every time I find a fence or something where I could do like an incline push-up, I add that. So it's like you're still doing your walk or your cardio or whatever you were doing outside, and then you're kind of adding in that little bit of resistance training at the same time without kind of like feeling like you need extra stuff or maybe extra time. It just kind of becomes a part of that routine, and then changes it up for your body too, so you're not just doing that constant like walk or run or whatever.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I think I don't know about for other people, but I know especially like when I'm running, I like to have little landmarks, because then I kind of know, okay, if I can just get to here, especially if I'm running up a hill, I'm like, oh, I can just get to there. But it is kind of that nice idea of planning and being mindful during your exercise as well. I talk with my hands a lot, I realize, doing these. So if you see my hand up here, sorry about that. Yeah, so that's great. I've also heard, or I sometimes when I get done, I might do just like a couple walking lunges up and down my driveway as like a nice little cool down to kind of like stretch out and do things that way. So that's a good body weight thing to add in. What about if you are, because not everybody right now is home, there are some people who are still going into work and doing things. What if, you know, you are at work? Are there ways that you can think of that people could increase their activity? Maybe let's start with people who might have more of that desk job and sitting a lot. Are there things that you could think of that would be good ways for people to get some extra activity in?
I think like making those like conscious plans, kind of like what Ashley said about like every stop sign you're going to do squats. Like maybe throughout your day, your goal is to do like 100 squats. And so like on the hour or whatever, you're doing 10 squats, 10 lunges, making those small little goals that you're not going to get super sweaty, but it gets you up out of your seat. You did mention like push-ups off of, you know, a fence. You certainly could do those off of your desk. You don't have to get down. And plus having some of that assistance, if you need help getting out of your chair, you still can push off of that desk. Yeah, so I think like squats, lunges, everything can be modified. So you don't have to be, you know, doing full on jumping jacks in your cubicle or at your desk by any means. Like you can do a modified version. And like stretching still is like a really good a thing to think about. We always think that you have to, you know, be getting that cardiovascular up. I know too, to be active, which NDPP does say that they want you to be able to talk but not be able to sing, but still stretching is really good. And especially if you're at a desk, like those ergonomic movements, building in some body weight exercises, but then also do some spine stretches, do some, you know, like neck circles, and like loosen up your shoulders instead of being in this hunched position, I think is also beneficial. Carving out the time. And if you guys have been paying attention to our stuff, you know I love pens and paper and Post-it notes. So you can easily set those goals out on your desk when you get there, and when you complete them, rip the Post-it note off and throw it away. I'm a very visual person, and so when I get visual motivation, that helps me better throughout my day.
Yeah. And I want to just add in a little bit. You were talking about like squats and lunges too. I know some people have concern about like squatting and knees and that kind of thing. And one of the things that you could do is even put like a chair against a wall, and you could use it like to sit down. So that way, if you do fall off balance, you still have a way to kind of hold on or sit back into the chair. But that can be something. I actually know somebody that every time they get up to go to the bathroom, they do squats as a way to just keep that activity rolling throughout the day. So
that's good.
Ashley, do you have any other thoughts too? Like if you're maybe more in like a office type setting, or a, you know, a place where you're at more of a desk job, ways to get active that way?
Yeah, I mean, I think the stretching part is super huge. We don't really think about that a lot, but also maybe just like exercises you can do in your chair. And a lot of them, I think, too, having to do with posture, because we know that like our posture starts to deteriorate. Like I've even noticed being home more, being on like the computer more for all these calls versus, you know, normally being in person and standing and walking around and going up and down the stairs is like, you know, you can do, you know, just some simple like squeezes between the shoulder blades, simple neck exercises, things that are going to help you get back in that better posture, even though they're not super strenuous, still helping to keep you moving a little bit. And it's going to help you in the long run too, right? When it comes to like all those other types of exercises and form and how you're feeling too, I think, because I know for me, when I'm sitting all day, I don't really want to go do exercises when I get home or like even really get up. And I think if we can kind of put those little bits of movement in throughout our day, and that kind of motivates you to maybe do a little bit more. But even things, you know, like when you are going to the bathroom, you could lunge to the bathroom, making sure that you're getting up to go fill your water every hour, something that makes you get up out of your chair, that maybe you wouldn't normally do because you're focused on your work, but just kind of like we've said, carving out those little bits of time. It's not like you need to take your whole lunch break and go do a workout if that's not something that works with your schedule. But if you can implement those things that take 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, you're more apt to kind of stay active a little bit more throughout the day.
Well, and I like that you're talking about like getting up to fill your water. That'll also get you more water, which is great. But also, you know, some things that I can think of that I've personally done, because I do have a desk job, is getting up, instead of sending an email to somebody that's like right next to me to ask a question, I'll get up and I'll go over there, you know. And yes, it might take a little more time, and I'm not saying I never email people. I do when I have to like get through stuff, but there are times when I'm like, you know what, I could use a second to go stand up and just go ask that person the question. Or when I do get up to go to the bathroom, I take the long way to the bathroom instead of the shorter way. Or I take the stairs instead of the elevator, you know, those types of things. And it's just a little bit here and there, but it does really add up, and it helps make sure that I keep moving a little bit throughout the day. So like you said, by the end of the day, I'm not so like, because I noticed that now I haven't been as good about it being at home. And I'm trying to find ways to make sure that I do that. So.
You don't have the option to take the long way to your bathroom in your house?
No, I don't. It's really not. It's like a horse apiece. I either go this way or go this way.
You have to do 5 flights of stairs before you can go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
My bathroom's upstairs. I have to take the stairs no matter what, but I only have 1 flight, so.
Yeah.
See, I have nothing really imperative upstairs or downstairs. I could really just stay on the main level all day, which is not good.
Yeah. I suppose. I do have a bathroom downstairs. I could make myself go down there, but it's so cold down there. That's just me giving an excuse. But so how about for people who are sitting at a job right now that is a little bit more active? Because some people too, like that's something that I talked to some people about before, where they're like, I already have a really active job. How am I supposed to, you know, get active? Is there anything else you can think of with somebody who maybe does walk around all day, or that might be important to think about that they're not thinking about because they are at a job that keeps them kind of moving? Not necessarily like hardcore workout moving, but like moving.
Like walking, at least being on your feet maybe more throughout your job. If that's the case, I would definitely make sure that you're focusing on some stretching, because that's, you know, especially for that lower body and your back and things like that, because probably by the time you get home, you're fairly stiff maybe from being on your feet. And as much as walking is like a great way to burn calories, and we're all about counting steps and things like that too, getting the range of motion and the mobility by doing some squats and bending your hips and bending your knees so you can keep those joints lubricated and loosened up, and then just focus on the stretching too, because I think a lot of those jobs, maybe like where you're walking, I think of a hospital setting where you're really moving down the halls and you're walking and you're on your feet. It's a stressful job as it is too, so your tension within your shoulders and your back probably is there as well. So kind of broadening your horizon on like what exactly being active might be. You're still being very active in your job, but then add maybe more of that active recovery in so that you feel maybe energized once you get off your shift, opposed to being exhausted and tight and not wanting to be as mobile. Because obviously when you come home, you don't want to go for a walk if you've been walking all day. So yeah, kind of building in more of that active recovery, I think would be a good choice.
Yeah. I think, and like depending too on like what that active job looks like, is you can end up with a lot of imbalances, like somewhere between your body versus, you know, if you're doing a lot of pushing motions, if you're only walking, and then, you know, your hamstrings are maybe not as strong. And so you do start to develop a little bit of imbalances and then issues and injuries and things like that. So kind of, if you know what you normally do at work, like how can you balance that out in a way that's, you know, healthy for your body, to make it kind of more well-rounded, like you're talking about with, you know, the stretching and stuff. But even I think too, a lot of our daily activities, we don't do, you know, the back side of our body. We don't do a lot of pulling, or we do a lot of pushing, or, you know, we don't do side to side movements. So like kind of switching up things that you, because like you said, Jen, like you don't want to go for a walk after you come home from walking all day at your job. Like you want to do something that's kind of different than that. So you, again, aren't kind of like bored with it too, I think, because it's like, oh, I already did this all day. I don't want to come home and do the same thing again. But also, how do I not like just sit on the couch for the rest of the night and not use my body?
Well, and I love that you guys are talking about, you know, that stretching piece and the importance, especially, I mean, for either way, you know, if you're sitting all day or if you are already being active, because I know for me, if I don't take the time to do some stretching, even if I was really active, the next day I'm sore and then I don't want to be active, you know, and I mean, I know that I need to and I work through that or whatever, but there has been times where I'm like, oh, I'm so sore. And really what I should have just done is done some stretching, and then I probably would have been okay the next day to feel like I want to be active. So I like that you guys added that in. Is there any other things that you can think of in terms of like activity for anyone at work, like currently away from like the house right now, that you want to add in? Otherwise we can shift over to like, again, kind of that being at home, perhaps working from home, or if you're not working currently right now, but you're having to do other things like childcare or teaching your kids, or taking on some of the other responsibilities around the house. Are there ways people can think of to add in activity in that setting?
Being more at home.
Yeah.
I kind of just go back to more of that office kind of setting too, slightly, just because I think just being more aware of like when you are more sedentary and building in like a 5-minute workout, or if you're like, okay, I have sat down for too long, I should get up and I should walk, I should do the stairs, which is great about some of those fitness trackers. I know they do remind you that you've been sedentary for too long, you have to get up, get your like 250 steps in for the hour. So I think those constant reminders throughout the hour, whether you set a timer on your phone or something like that, just to be more mindful of like, it doesn't have to be an actual workout, but maybe you go up and down the stairs for 5 minutes. Maybe it's doing some laundry if you want to feel productive in your home as well. Like my laundry's in the basement, and so I have to carry all my stuff down there. Plus you have some resistance as you're carrying it all the way back up. Getting outside, now that it's beautiful outside, getting there, I say it's beautiful. It's beautiful for what it is, you guys. So we got to sunshine when we get it. Getting outside and just going for a walk around your block. If you don't have a ton of time, fresh air is amazing. Like, or go walk through your garden or something, you know, and see what's popping up, you know, every couple, you know, hours, just to get some extra steps in. And I think the awareness is huge. If you feel like you're being too sedentary, then you probably are, and you probably need to get up and do something. And it doesn't have to be an hour workout. It can be something super small. I always tease Justin, and I've only been in my house for a short period of time, but I'm just kind of getting used to what's coming up and growing in my garden. So if I decorate or do something different outside, I'm like, do you want to walk the perimeter with me? If you guys know where I live in town. I don't have like a huge house. hard. But it gets me outside and I just walk around my house and I see what's coming up, and gratification of being outside, but also getting some steps and some fresh air is a bonus.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Yeah, and I think especially if you're like at home with like your kids, or like you're trying to work and your kids, like you all need a break. Like you all need, I think, what did we used to call them, like brain breaks for kids that they need, because even if they're at home doing school or whatever, like, you know, none of us are really meant to sit for that amount of time, and obviously with different attention spans for different ages, so just finding activities to kind of build in. I think if you can, if your schedule is more flexible being at home, like, you know, really being mindful to like actually intentionally kind of schedule in those little breaks, so it's not like, oh, we're working or doing school from 8 to noon, and then, oh, now we're gonna eat lunch, and then now we're super tired and now we don't want to go do anything. Like maybe it's first thing you get up in the morning, that's what you do as a family, or maybe it's 10 o'clock, we all take, you know, a little 5-minute break and we dance to our favorite song, or we jump rope outside or play hopscotch, or, you know, things like that. Roll down, probably shouldn't roll down my hill because it goes down to like a sidewalk and I shouldn't be rolling at this point anyway.
Let's just say, and you're pregnant, let's just be honest here. Let's not do that.
Not put you in anything that rolls right now.
In their backyard growing up, and we loved rolling down our hill, and there was like a garden at the end, so if you fell into the garden, you're fine, it's just dirt. Or if you have a swing set, like, you know, go out and take advantage and use those things. Like Jen said, doesn't need to be this like planned super long workout either, you know, something that everyone can participate in if you're at home.
I like your ideas of like breaking it down into smaller chunks, and you know, we might have that time where we can go and do an hour walk or an hour workout, but other times just to be able to continue to get some of that activity minutes. And again, I will challenge people, even if you are getting those 150 minutes in larger chunks, to still get active in between, to help keep your body used to that movement, and keep your muscles moving, and, you know, doing some of those stretches. I know one of my things right now, my kids laugh at me because if I have a rather busy day and I really don't have the time to like get up and actually go for a walk, every so often I'll like get up and I'll do laps around the house, or I'll walk in place, and they're like, "What are you doing?"
So weird.
My son has like hollered upstairs and he's like, "What is that noise? Are you walking again?"
Walking.
And I'm like, "Yeah, but it's, you know, when I'm sitting, I notice my back hurting, or my, you know, my legs are getting tight or whatever." And just that idea of like, okay, if I take, you know, 2 to 3 minutes just to do some walking in place, or, you know, dancing or jumping jacks or whatever I feel like at that moment, it helps me not only for my body, but it helps my mind kind of reset and get back into what I need to be doing. So that's awesome. Well, you guys have given a lot of really great tips for ways to add in little things today. And I think that it's important for us to be looking for those opportunities. You know, I think right away, both of you mentioned that it's a good thing to challenge yourself and to find out, you know, to not over push yourself, because you obviously don't want to end up injured. But, you know, if you've reached a certain level in your activity, ramping it up a little bit, whether that be through a little bit of extra time, or maybe the same amount of time, but doing something a little faster, or adding weights or incline, you know, finding ways throughout the day to get a little bit of activity in, whether it's the stretching or the, you know, getting up to grab water, or, you know, lunges or squats or something like that, just to keep the body moving is really important. So, you know, maybe finding something this next week, whatever your situation is, whether you're at home, you know, working from home, or managing a family from home, or whether you're still out and about, you know, working outside of the home right now. What are some ways that you could add in some of that activity? What's one thing that you might pick this week to add in? You know, is it some of those little things here and there? Is it adding weight? Is it adding some resistance training? Think about something that you think is feasible for you. I'm going to challenge you to try that and see how it goes. So I think that's all that we probably have for this week, unless Jen or Ashley has any final parting comments. Any?
No, but I'm gonna say, like, if I'm out for a walk or a drive and I see people squatting by a stop sign, kudos. We know you watched our video and you did those squats on your walk. So
They're gonna be watching for you now, Jen, and they're gonna be like, "Oh, there she is. I better squat."
squat, right?
I have like a major intersection that I have to cross for like my normal walking path. So usually I'm like waiting for cars because only my direction has a stop sign, so they're going the other way. So I would get really weird looks because there are a lot of cars, but I'll just start squatting and they'll be like,
"What is she doing?
She going crazy? Been inside too long?"
That was gonna be my next comment. Do not be shy about doing some weirder things than you're outside in public. Let's be honest with you guys. If anybody's judging you for doing squats by a stop sign, like, you don't need to be worried about those people anyway. Think only about yourself. I mean, and what you're doing to make you healthy, right? And you never know, you might make that person's day. If you're extra motivated, try a burpee at a stop sign. That'd probably be the best thing ever.
I'm not gonna do that on the road.
And right now we're under quarantine. Everybody is just itching. You would literally get away with anything. So take advantage of that and just have fun with it. I'm gonna go on Amazon and order like 6 different ankle weights, and I'll just put them all on and go
Like on her arms.
Yes, right. Who cares what people think? Be healthy, be active for you and only you. So
here's the thing that I always say when people are like, I'm not very fast, or I can't do that. I'm like, or I can't do that particular thing. I'm like, just the fact that you're out and you're moving and doing something, you're already like 10 times ahead of, or 10 steps ahead of the people that are sitting and not, and sitting on the couch or whatever. Not that there's not a time and a place for that, but, don't worry about not doing it to the best level, or that you might look funny. Who cares? Have fun with it. And take a picture. Send us a picture of you doing something
weird.
But think about also who you're inspiring at that time. Maybe that person that's sitting in that vehicle is looking at you and staring at you, Ashley, because they're like, man, I need to do that on my next walk. And not always is negative. They're probably maybe being inspired as well. So positivity, right?
Yep. Lots of cool options. And as we said in the past, please interact with us on the Facebook page. Let us know what are some of your favorite tips and tricks for staying or getting more active. Let us know what something is that maybe you added in or that you tried out. Send us pictures of you doing things, any of that kind of stuff. It's just fun to see what people are up to. Ask us questions. All of that, just let us know where you're at. So without any other information, I think we're done for today, but we can't wait to see what you have to share online. So, thank you all.